focus will be on promoting gender-based violence prevention strategies in humanitarian settings. So the discussion will be that let's say it's going to be discussing the gender-based violence aspect, while this year ambassadors will be discussing the disaster risk reduction aspect. By the way, to our viewers out there, this is a peer learning program that is funded by the Women's Peace and Humanitarian Fund in collaboration with the Women Have Wings, and they have decided to fund a peer-to-peer learning experience program for these two organizations in Nigeria. Mariam Aliyu is an awardee for the 2021 Women Have Wings program that celebrates women globally who have made giant strides in the humanitarian context. And then Nora Nongu is an awardee from DCR Ambassadors. And the two organizations have been involved in a peer learning experience. We did boot camp, we did a lot of social activities, including sports. By the way, Team DCR Ambassadors defeated Let's Say during the tug of war.
Yeah, we are going to have a rematch on. We are not backing down. We are definitely going to have a rematch.
That's great. We saw the staff from Let's Say, they were looking very heavy, and we thought they could do something, but Nora alone could pull them out.
Nora,
all right, so
take them down again.
We are going to have
so that's great. So now let's quickly go on. So we are going to sensitize our viewers out there on GBV prevention strategies, because within the humanitarian context, there is a lot of reported gender-based violence in camps of internally displaced persons, at home, at the workplace, and much needs to be done, to be able to address these concerns. And so during our peer learning sessions, we were able to, have trainings on disaster risk reduction. Nora took us through a series of trainings on disaster, and then Mariam was able to represent us on gender-based violence strategies. So Nora, I don't know if we could discuss and highlight what climate disaster means. At least we'll say some few words to the viewers out there, what a climate-induced disaster means.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. I think climate-induced disasters are a shift in temperatures and our weather patterns that affect, that cause natural hazards that affect human activities. So some of the climates we know, we have flood, we have the tsunami, the cyclones, the volcanic eruptions. I think we've heard of some of them around the world. And the most common one, which is flood, I think in 2020, in Nigeria, 24 states out of 26, we are affected by flood. And then we hear of stories in Pakistan and other countries. And it was really devastating. And I think there are other further questions about natural disasters that will be talking about the effects of natural disasters. So they are natural hazards that affect human activities, cause massive destructions, and affect human activities.
Wow, that's great. Yes, thank you so much, Nora, for that wonderful explanation about climate-induced disasters. You know, we've been watching on the TV where flood has hit a lot of communities this year. I saw, you know, states like Kogi and Jigawa, they were immersed into flood. And, you know, I kept wondering what is going on, because over time, every year, this keeps, you know, reoccurring. So I know that definitely there's something wrong, and it's not unconnected with climate. I know that flood also has some devastating impacts on people, you know, leading to displacement, loss of livelihoods, and all of that. I don't know if you also have one or two impacts that you could mention to our viewers out there that are the devastating impacts of flood on communities.
Okay, and like you have said, I think in 2020 in Nigeria alone, the Nigerian flood, the federal government had the data of 1.4 million people who lost, who were displaced due to the flood, and about 604 who lost their lives to the flood. I think that is already an overwhelming effect of flood. We have the economic impact, where people lose their livelihood to flood. There's also the health risk, where the water could even get contaminated. And then we see people living in these terrible conditions. We have disruption of farmlands, properties, and road closures, and landslides, and the form of others. So mainly the loss of human lives and properties.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Nora, for that. I think with what you have said now, it means that there are a lot of devastating impacts of flood, ranging from those that leave communities with a lot of mental health issues, and then those that affect the physical nature of persons, including structures and all of that. So I'll come back to you, Nora. Let's see if we can hear from Mariam and Susan. So we'll quickly be able to switch to gender-based violence prevention in humanitarian settings, because I know that has been on a rise. And Mariam, an expert in this area with Susan, have been involved, you know, in doing a lot of prevention programs at the grassroots within schools and communities. So, Mariam, can you be able to say one or two about what gender-based violence is, maybe in a nutshell?
Okay. Thank you so much, Richard, for this. First and foremost, I'll start by saying that gender-based violence is any harmful act that is perpetrated or directed towards somebody as a result of their gender. It's actually calls for, it's also referred to as a gross misconduct, a gross harmful act on someone. It has different forms. It could come in form of physical abuse. It could come in form of child marriage. It could come in form of, intimate partner violence, etc. In a nutshell, this is what GBV is. So the preventive measures that we could use, because most times people would say that we are trying to bring an end to gender-based violence, but that is still we still have a lot of ways, we still have a long way to go to bringing an end to gender-based violence. But then some preventive measures can really bring a very low percentage reduction in terms of gender-based. Like, for instance, awareness raising, providing reporting mechanisms, different reporting mechanisms, like in different locations where Let's Say works, we have set up different reporting mechanisms, from phone calls to since 2020, we've actually been working on an innovative reporting technique as well, where we try to use sign languages, introduce sign languages in the community for people, not just persons with disability, to report cases of gender-based violence, but also for people who could not even express themselves. That is, you could be standing with the perpetrator and you will not be able to express yourself to really report the case of gender-based violence or even sexual exploitation and harassment, which has become a day-to-day something that happens within the humanitarian setting, not just to the beneficiaries, but also in workplace in terms of, amongst the staffs within a specific location. So it is very important for us to create these specific reporting mechanisms to enable the staff or to enable the persons of concern to be able to report cases of gender-based violence, because the more we are getting the report, that is, the more people are able to have the confidence to report cases, which also comes during the awareness. You build the confidence of the person. You try to sensitize the community. You try to create different community groups, because for us, let's say we refer to them as community champions. We have local psychosocial champions. We have GBV champions, all from communities. And then these particular champions, the idea is to consistently give them training so that they can also go back to those communities, continue to increase so that it can build their confidence level and their trust, and also the way and manner in which the staff of a particular organization conduct themselves and confidence in which they use to address, with utmost confidentiality and perseverance. And so the way they also address issues and cases of gender-based violence matters a lot, because if a case is reported to you and then you probably you don't handle it to the point in which, not just by case management, you go for follow-ups, you go to end of case, close up of case, and then you ensure after close up of case you still go back to see if justice has been served, because that is what we call proper close up of case management. So these are steps that we take, different steps we take in ensuring that our survivors get justice and get support as much as they can. So, and it is also very important to build the confidence of survivors before all these things are done. So more so, I'm still going to speak more about this in detail, but for now I'll give room for Susan to add more stuff to it. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much. I think basically you've said a lot. Since 2020, like you mentioned, we've been working on these innovative methods of reporting, and it's we've also worked so much on awareness creation within the communities. And just like Maria mentioned, we've been very strategic in building local capacities, because we believe in sustainability. So we know that if the local communities, the persons we are working with, if they don't have the capacities to also, speak against gender-based violence, even when, we exit from such communities, the perpetrators will still go ahead with this. So that's why we ensure that during our awareness sessions, we make sure, we train them to be able to speak, to be able to, identify GBV when they see them, when it occurs, and be able to report it. We create them, we make the linkages such that there are referral patterns for reporting GBV, and confidentiality, just like Mariam said, is very important for us, because we've realized for the past years working with community members and with survivors that some persons actually shy away from reporting GBV cases due to lack of confidentiality and trust, between the survivors and maybe some workers, some social workers. So we ensure that during our awareness sessions, we encourage them and gain their trust so that they can come up to speak against, GBV. And the more persons have been coming up to speak against GBV, the more, rather, we keep noticing that cases of GBV are rising. On the contrary, or of course, it's what we've been looking out for. The cases have always been there, but the thing is that they don't report them. But now that created this awareness, we've had so many awareness sessions, discussion sessions, talks with the community members, community leaders. We've had sessions with men, because you just can't be talking about GBV. We always say the perpetrators are there. You cannot just look at the victim and then you let go, the perpetrators, and then by the time you go, the acts continue. So we had to, make sure that our awareness falls on the ears of both parties to reduce the rate and the spread of GBV within communities in humanitarian settings. Thank you. I think I'll continue again.
Wow, that's powerful. I love the conversation. It's very interesting, and there's a lot to learn. GBV has been an area of interest for me, and as an organization, we have also looked forward to doing programs that are more of preventive than reactive, because we need to do more to make sure that it doesn't occur in the first place. Not just waiting until it occurs, then we start looking forward to response. I was planning to ask more questions, but it's like 90% of what you have discussed has already provided answers to my next question. I really wanted to ask why GBV is prevalent in humanitarian settings, and then what could be the strategies that we could adopt to increase protection of women and girls from gender-based violence within emergency context. But you see, you've discussed largely more of this, except maybe you have one or two to add. But one more question before I go to Nora, and then we end the session. I would like to ask, what is the role of the media and the general public in the GBV prevention, drive? What do you think the media should be doing? What will the general public be doing? Because our viewers out there would love to, hear what their role is.
Okay. Thank you, Richard, for that. So for me, I would say that the media plays a very good role, a very, very huge role in terms of, GBV prevention. That is, from awareness raising, which media has been a very good tool. It can be positive, it can be negative at times, but then training the media in a proper way has always been, for those particular ones that have been trained to deliver the information as we want the information to go out there without any sort of manipulations and stuff, which happens often with media. It has really gone a long way to, providing some sort of awareness for the public in terms of, especially reporting, majorly reporting. Like, for instance, issues of cases of sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment, which is a gross misconduct, and all NGOs are completely standing against it, and GBV as well, which so many organizations have come together to, with the zero tolerance to GBV, to sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment cases and all that. We have been able to also use the media to send out more information out there in terms of awareness creations for community members and so many other people, for them to be able to, get an awareness of what GBV is and what is sexual exploitation. How does it differentiate? How do we differentiate sexual exploitation from sexual abuse? And what is sexual harassment? At what point is the staff of an organization supposed to report? And, do you report after it has happened or when you suspect something? So some people and some organizations out there, where it can be community-based organization, government agencies, and etc., the media has played a good role, with sending out information, clear information and explanation about what these specific terms in the humanitarian setting means, and who exactly, and connecting them to those specific mechanisms where they could actually find support. The media has supported in actually creating a linkage between a survivor and the support aid in terms of medical. The media has supported in terms of, providing a support aid, that is a support linkage for just, beneficiary, that persons of concerns within the community, to their aid support. Aid support can be in terms of livelihood, can be in terms of preventive mechanisms, etc. So yeah, I would say that the media plays a really, really huge role. That is, if they send the right information out there. But
Thank you.
Has a button. Yeah.
Just to add to that, I was just going to say that the media has been a very great partner for us as an organization, because most of our awareness sessions, we do radio sensitization to, communities that we really can't reach out to. We do radio sensitizations. We do a lot, with the media. And just like Mariam already mentioned, we have trained, some media outlets on how to report cases of GBV, because they are usually, especially sexual, gender-based violence, they are usually very sensitive, and you wouldn't want to let out information about survivors that would, end up finding the survivor being stigmatized in the community because of maybe information given out by the media. So we've trained the media on how to report cases of GBV, and we have actually recorded a lot of success coming out from them, being from judging from how they now report cases of GBV, and how survivors have, through the media, the partnership with the media, gotten aid, support, from different organizations. So I really think the media has a lot of role to play in this setting. And of course, there is still always much to be done from the part of the media, and as well as us as organizations, NGOs. We still need that synergy. We still need to come together to work, to look for more strategies to handle cases of GBV in such a way that we do no harm, and we ensure the dignity of the survivors. So far so good. We're on the right foot, and yet we have more to do. Over.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mariam. Thank you so much, Susan. As a very interesting part. I've learned so much about the media. I've always known that the media is, has a lot of potentials to do preventive work, and especially when they do impactful reporting, it's going to have a long-term effect, mostly positive effect, because it helps to change people's ideologies, people's attitude and behavior. And so it's very important that we engage the media, we engage the general public to understand some of the things, issues around gender-based violence prevention. And so because of time, I will quickly refer back to Nora. Nora was discussing beautifully the topic of disaster risk reduction, and the focus was on addressing climate-induced disasters. And so we had a brief conversation around flood, because in recent times, flood has become a frequently recurring decimal. And so Nora was able to, highlight what climate-induced disaster is, and then she discussed what the devastating impact of flood could be on communities. And so, we're looking at the strategies that communities could adopt, to be able to respond to flood in situations where such occurs. Recently, I was interacting with a group of youths, and they showed me something that looked like a jerry can. They said they kept it specifically in the house because they wanted to use it in case there was a flood, that they could not have access to exit the room or to escape. Then they used that jerry can, you lie on it, and then you're able to paddle your way out of the water. I found that a very nice local initiative. Nora, I don't know if you have some ways you could suggest to the public how they could get or navigate out of a flood situation. And then if you can talk about the role of the government, the media, and civil society organizations in preventing and responding to flood in the community.
Okay, so the role of the government and media, as Miriam and Susan rightly said, the role of media cannot be overemphasized, as media are usually the first point of sending out information to both governments and the public and relevant agencies that would respond to these emergencies when they happen. So we cannot overemphasize the role of media when it comes to disaster, as we are also a, it's a medium of educating people on how to prepare, how to mitigate, and how to respond to disasters like flood when they happen. And we warn people about these hazards, we gather information and transmit information about affected areas, and then alert the government agencies and also the international organizations who come to respond to these emergencies when they happen. So the role of media is always important, as is through these means we get. And then the government and humanitarian agencies that respond to people, I think it's the case even in North and East Nigeria, where we have the human-induced disasters. Yeah, the role of governments, which are major stakeholders and international or response organizations, are always key in giving relief materials to people affected populations, and then in helping them to provide their basic needs and amenities, from water, shelter, and good food to affected people. The aim is always to save life first, and then also to help them to with other coping mechanisms when people are affected by this hazard.
Wow, thank you so much, Nora. Thanks so much. You've made a lot, and um, I so much love the aspects you have highlighted around the civil society interventions for flood. I've also been looking forward to seeing more, prevention. I keep asking myself if there are more ways that we could do, what things that we could do to prevent flood from occurring. But though I know that it happens in mass, and most times it happens in such a way that it is beyond the capacity of the communities to be able to prevent. And so maybe we could rely for now on response. If it happens, the necessary things people need to know so that they can be able to get their way out of it. Thank you so much for that. I think maybe Mariam and Susan might also want to talk about disaster. I don't know, or maybe they want to speak a word about GBV. But remember, I wanted to ask you also to say something about this peer learning, and maybe in 1 minute, how you could thank WPHF for this wonderful opportunity for funding us. So over to you, Mariam. Over to you, Susan.
Yeah, Mariam, we can hear you. I think you're muted.
Oh. Okay. So, first of all, I would like to say a very big thank you to for the peer learning for giving us the opportunity to organize this peer learning award, and it has been successful, and we have all learned a lot from it. So this big thank you is for UN Women's Award, Women Have Wings, and for this particular peer learning, amongst other supports that we've gotten from them. So big thank you on behalf of Let's Say. So moving forward, I think I also want to say a little bit about the role of media in disaster, but not much, because I know Susan has this covered. So I will say that I think in terms of I have come across a series of cases, because as I'm doing my as we are doing our project, we try to mainstream GBV in different other program activities. We try to mainstream GBV in livelihood. We try to mainstream GBV in climate action and stuff like that. So on several occasions, not Let's Say directly, but other organizations I have come across, which I have consulted for, have used the media in terms of awareness raising, which I think has really helped. Like I think in Japan, for the flood and the tsunami, there's usually these early warning signs that normally, if it's sent out directly, like after getting the reports, the send it out correctly using the media, and then it has also, supported a long way in saving the lives of so many people out there. And I feel like the media, the problem we've always seen with the media in the humanitarian sector is that most times the information we always send out there is usually not accurate, probably because they are trying to traffic, or probably. But I believe by consistently, if we can consistently train the media to be able to give out the right informations, it's going to save us a lot. In fact, a lot of wrong informations from going there. So curtailing the wrong informations that the media sends out there is also very important. And I believe every organization that uses the media should also notice that and ensure that proper training is conducted for these specific set of people. Because I'm speaking out of experience. It hurt me a lot on several occasions. So, so it's very important. And this is just what I want to talk about. And I think I'll close it for tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, Maria, I was wondering, Susan, sorry, before you come on, I was wondering, I don't know how to swim. So if I'm caught up in a flood, what do I do? I get drowned?
Maybe the
I don't
climate
know
guy.
what to say. but before you get into the flood, you didn't think of using a swimming trunk? There was no
Perhaps I've never had one. Maybe one of these days, Susan has to teach me how to swim, because the flood is becoming something that is happening every day. We don't know what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
Unfortunately so. And I'll advise you get that, because it's a life-saving skill. So what I wanted to add was, I know of situations where flooding happened, and members of the community were not aware, and roads were blocked and things like that. It was the media, that sent out this information to save lives, stop people from going towards that direction, and you ending up in more danger. And it's also part of media's responsibility to, like an advocacy for the government, to see what they can do in terms of prevention, because I've seen reports on where maybe flooding actually started, and how they can actually prevent this by, just doing a few groundwork on what needs to be done, and what has not been done, and what has been neglected, because it's most of these cases are usually neglect from our own parts, or from the part of the government and the community at large. So I feel like the media has done so much to advocate for some of these things, these early warning signs, and talk about all of these things. And just like Mariam said as well, once there is a crisis, be it man-made or artificial, there is always bound to be abuse, and women and girls and children are usually at the forefront of this. They are usually the persons that suffer most. And so that's why we always mainstream GBV in most of our programming, in terms of crises like flooding situations like we had in 2020. There were a lot of GBV cases, even denial of resources, and these are all issues that women, the vulnerable populations have been facing. And thanks to maybe some reports from the media, organizations became aware of this, and they sprung into action and came to the aid of these survivors or these victims. So, like I said, the media is a very important partner for the humanitarian organizations to work to ending, gender-based violence in Nigeria and in other parts of Africa and the world. So that's all I just wanted to add to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, Nora. It was a lovely time, but we can't continue. I wish we could go on and on, but we don't have all the time to continue. And so I would quickly want to express appreciation to the WPHF, Women's Peace and Humanitarian Fund, and the Women Have Wings for this great opportunity for us to have a peer learning experience. It's the first of its kind, and it was a lovely time We're looking forward to, having more of these sessions. Thanks to Mariam from Let's Side for, accepting also to be part of the program and for her insightful contributions. Thanks to Susan. Let's Side has a very brilliant team. Thanks to Ramadan, who has always been at the background preparing everything for us. Back home, I want to thank Nora, my partner and colleague, who has been also working very well with me in responding and prevention of disaster within Northeast Nigeria and other vulnerable communities. I must say that it was a wonderful time having you online. I would like each of you to say one word to WPHF, UN Women, Women Have Wings. Then we end the session. Over to you, Mariam.
Mariam, you're muted again.
Thank you so much for creating a platform for all us to come and, learn from each other. We truly appreciate it and we'll continue to do more to provide. You said one word. Okay, so I'll stop here. Just thank you.
Yeah, so I'll continue from there. So I would really like to thank the organizers, the founders, for this opportunity, because I think if we have more opportunities like this, we are going to create more awareness on GBV and disaster and climate change, and it will go a long way to educate the populace on issues around GBV, around climate change, and see how we can make the world a better place to be. Thank you very much.
All right, over to you, Nora.
Okay. All right, a big thank you to the Women Peace Humanitarian Fund and the Women Have Wings for giving us more wings to fly.
Yes.
I would like also to salute the technical support of the UN Women in facilitating the implementation of the pair learning program. It was really an educating experience for the both organizations, and I believe we also learned from each other, and we are looking forward to more partnership with the Women Peace Humanitarian Fund and to better work to give effective response in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Susan, thank you. Mariam, thank you. Nora, thank you. It was good to have all of you online, and I'm looking forward to having you in our next edition so we can, sensitize people more on flood, on disasters related to climate change, and on gender-based violence prevention strategies in humanitarian setting. Thank you. My name is Richard Inyamkime from DCR Ambassadors. Thank you all. Bye.